is a very dangerous thing, and I'm both terrified and impressed with the capabilities.
What is the role of key performance indicators in an organization or within the team?
About 8,000 servers in the cloud. You need
What budgets allocated within the team or organization? Yes.
anyone that wants to get into DevOps
or CEH is actually.
Can you enter into cybersecurity without any technical acumen?
Recruiters use only 5 to 7 seconds to see the resume.
If you got the OSI model and you learn how to subnet, you've got a core fundamental knowledge.
You want to learn the tools that they use, like Burp Suite, WhatsApp, SQL Map.
Yep, and welcome back to Learn Launch with Raviteja Murapena, episode 8. In this episode, we'll be having a conversation with Jason Assad, who has over 24 years of experience in the industry. He has worked in various roles, starting from computer analyst to director and finally as a founder. Jason brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the discussion. Stay tuned as we'll be exploring his remarkable career as well as insights on cloud computing and cybersecurity. We'll be also having another guest, Spencer, who is a co-founder of Infiltrate IQ. He'll be joining us shortly. So with that being said, let's welcome Jason. It's great having you on the podcast, Jason.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for your time, Jason. So how is your day going on, Jason?
It's been a wonderful Sunday so far.
I think I have ruined your weekend, I believe. Sorry for that. So back then you were working in cloud as a senior manager. How did your journey started in cloud? So what made you interest? Because back then when you have started in cloud computing, the word cloud was not that trending. So how did everything start, Jason?
My career in cloud computing, it started with a recruiter that found me based on some specific items that were in my resume. I was able to pick up new technologies and implement them in an architectural form. I relied heavily on Windows best practices, Microsoft servers, group policy object. I always did things right, and I was quite certified. At the time, I had my MCITP EA, which was Microsoft Certified Information Technology Professional Enterprise Administrator. And so I had plenty of certifications and exams along Microsoft. And so that basically got me into the door. And my previous experience with web applications from when I worked in managed services, that became quite useful.
So how did you got to know about those certifications?
No, so this is not a cloud certification. It's just a Microsoft certification. However, the advent of cloud was, there in 2012. That's when Amazon started promoting it. And so that's when I got involved. And I was hired as a cloud manager in order to manage a team that was producing the tool set for a product that was being hosted in the cloud. But understand as well as back then, a lot of the applications that ended up in the cloud were actually legacy applications that were not cloud-based. And so what we were doing was we were modifying it a little bit to make it a little bit more cloud-centric.
So which role was interesting you the more and why?
So I like building software that's cloud native. That solves a problem. That's what I really get excited about, and building it in a secure manner.
You're the manager of 3 technology departments, the cloud team, the infrastructure team, and the development operations. So how does these work together, Jason?
Well, where I used to work at SOTI, I was managing everything to do with the cloud. We had legacy Windows application that was single tenant that had to be hosted in the cloud. To automate the delivery of this, which we were able to do using specific tools. We were able to launch a full-fledged server in the cloud, out-of-box experience, and apply the application. And then, because it's single instance, you've got all of these servers in the cloud, 8,000 servers in the cloud. You need to be able to manage them. So then I started a development team to build the orchestration in order to manage it effectively. So I basically built a managed service provider's application, much like Kaseya or many different other ones. Instead of buying it off the shelf, we built it. We purposefully built it because our application and our server needs were a little bit different than normal. And so then I built that. Then afterwards, and you have to understand that everything is client-based. Everything is client-driven. The clients want the automation. The clients want this. They want answers very fast. They want a secure environment, and they need to be able to prove that your environment is secure to their own security team. That's how the interrelation started. So I started with the cloud services and just getting the servers up into the cloud and running. Then I built the orchestration in order to manage the servers, and then I had to build the cybersecurity department in order to harden everything, prove that I'm implementing best practice, answer any of the questions that the security teams from our clients have, and then ultimately get certified with ISO 27001 and work towards SOC 2.
Nice. That's a pretty interesting question. And like, what is the role of key performance indicators in an organization or within the team? So how does those work? What indicators are important?
Well, the team that I would apply a KPI to would be development. You have to understand that in an agile development, the KPI is, are you delivering what you said you were delivering, right? And are you delivering it appropriately on the cadence that you said so? And then if there is an issue, can you back out that change that you made and then implement one extremely quickly in order to fulfill your objective? And so when it comes to KPI, we have our Scrum Masters doing Scrum. We have our developers developing in accordance with the story points that they have chosen for the actual sprint. And the development manager is able to deliver the product every 2 weeks, which is the regular sprint cycle.
Like, how are budgets allocated within the team or organization? So are they part of KPIs as well?
My approach to budgeting, especially seeing as we're overhead, like cloud team, the cloud, delivering cloud, everything is overhead. When I'm asked what the budget is for cloud development and our cloud services, it's fully dependent upon sales. So I just say 10% of sales. 10% of sales takes care of everything that I touch and I do. Then when they and then they just go back to sales, find out what that is, and that's ends up being my budget, because that's truly what it is. Understand that with the cloud services, we are going out of pocket for the infrastructure, and I've already costed out how much the cloud services and the architecture and the development is going to cost per output or per device that's being registered in our system back in the day. And so that's how I do the budgeting.
Got it. Thanks for sharing that, Jason. And what about the negotiation skills? Why do they play an important role in management level?
I find that the majority of the negotiation is interdepartmental. It's more trying to get things done that is going to help and assist you. For example, when you don't have a cloud-ready application or you have a legacy application that you have to host in the cloud, there are a bunch of changes that you really want the product development to work on, not necessarily the cloud development, but the actual product sometimes has to be finessed, and that turns out to be a little bit of a negotiation. And so it's always good to make the business case. It's always good to make the sales case, and it's always good to bring along a few sharp salespeople to the table to discuss and to validate what you're saying.
I've seen in LinkedIn, people said that like you do multitasking, a lot of things at a time. So how do you manage your time?
Believe it or not, I use Bixby on my phone all the time. I record messages to myself and I record deadlines, and my phone is consistently barking at me to do something, because I remember it. When I'm assigned something, sometimes I just pick up my phone, I put it in my phone. Otherwise, I record it in DevOps, in a Kanban board. There's multiple different tools that can be used. However, I find that my phone is the best because it's always with me, and it is a continuous reminder.
Got it. So I think I'll be using the same now to remind myself. So apart from that, like, are there any certifications and skills that you recommend want to join into, the cloud domain? Like, certifications and skills that they require?
So my advice for anyone that wants to enter into cloud, they have to define what they want to do. If they want to, like everything now is cloud. Before we had Active Directory on premise, and we had Active Directory on premise. Cloud wasn't a real thing. But now Active Directory is in the cloud using Azure Active Directory. You have Microsoft Office 365. Everything seems to be cloud. So anyone that's looking for the first step is, I know that Amazon has a free certification. It's basically an introduction into cloud computing, and it's quite good. There's another one, I believe, from Azure, and then after you get both of those, which are trivial, they're free. Then I would get involved into administrating the Microsoft 365 environment. Getting your feet wet in that is a very good entry point. You can get once you become proficient and get certified in managing Microsoft 365, you can get a job. You get a remote job that's working for, say, a managed service provider, and you can be doing moves, adds, deletes. You can be creating users, applying security policies, administering different aspects, and not even doing any desktop support. It's purely just Microsoft 365 and email management.
Like, what about DevOps? Is there any path that you suggest people to do in order to get the job?
Uh, Anyone that wants to get into DevOps, what I would recommend doing is, YouTube is your friend. So I would be doing some research in regards to DevOps using Python on YouTube, and just watch some of these tutorials, and then sign up for a free account on AWS, and then start doing things. Pipeline, if that's possible. Reviewing YouTube is a very, very good resource.
Best platform to learn.
Oh, the best platform to learn? I have no opinion in regards to the best platform to learn. I really like Amazon Web Services. I really like Amazon Web Services. If you want to end up in an organization that just has Windows, Active Directory, and they've got SQL Server and a bunch of .NET applications, then you're going to go Azure. If you want to work and you like MacBook, if you want to build stuff on Apple technologies or strict Python, you don't want any Microsoft products whatsoever, then you'd gravitate towards AWS.
And like, a lot of people ask me, Jason, and like they don't have any knowledge in cloud computing or computer science in general, but they want to shift into cloud. So can a non-IT guy shift to a IT or cloud computing in general?
Yes. It all depends on willingness to learn. And you can be quick if you already have technical acumen. If you fix your own PC, if you do things on your own, and you like to research, and you're curious, right? Curiosity is a talent, and so if you're curious, you want to learn, and you enjoy technology, then it's the spot for you.
Because like, a lot of people nowadays, they are losing their jobs, right? A lot of layoffs have been happening. So what recommendation that you give them in order to, get an interview call? Because they're not even getting an interview call. They're applying for hundreds of thousands of jobs, but they're not getting any interview call. So what recommendation that you give to them? Just
What I would think, following a certification path.
Okay.
Especially one that I've already talked about before. And so a non-IT individual, there are many different things that you can do in regards to the creative space within a corporate entity. If you're artistic, you might want to develop, work on UI or UX, UI, UX. You might want to learn how to do some front end development. You might want to learn, but the thing is, guys like me, like I'm architecture, hardware. I like fixing servers. I like fixing stuff that breaks. That's what I like automating things. So that's what I really appreciate working on. And so based on what you really want to do, that's where you go.
Coming to job fairs, like there are a lot of job fairs and events, right? For example, Collision. People can go there and meet different individuals, networking with them, so that they can showcase their skills in order to get the job as well, right?
Yes, and so when it comes to job fairs, job fairs can be relatively good, although and job fairs are good for entry level. They're not necessarily good for senior level or intermediate, but they're good for entry level positions. And it's a good opportunity for you as a potential candidate to get in front of someone and answer a couple questions really quick and gain their interest. And then after that, it goes. I know that I have hired countless individuals where it all started at, say, a job fair, and they've all been entry level positions, and they stayed employed on my teams for the better part of a decade.
Yeah. So coming to cybersecurity, many people are searching for jobs. So has a starting point, which job that they have to apply to in order to get recruited?
That's interesting. Can you enter into cybersecurity without any technical acumen? I've never thought of that, actually. So I just thought of that right now. And I think it is possible because, security isn't a product, it's a process, right? And so it is quite possible for an auditor to become proficient as a cybersecurity analyst or an auditor, internal auditor. It is quite possible without any technical background or knowledge. I do believe. However, in order to be a very skilled individual inside the security realm, where relevant to pen testing or as an analyst, I think that you need a very deep understanding of the network stack, the OSI model, everything. You need to know. You need to start at the beginning. And that's also a great idea for anyone that wants to start. Is go through the OSI model. Put on YouTube and see if you can last. See if you can hold out without falling asleep. And then after that, you learn how to subnet. And if you got the OSI model and you learn how to subnet, you've got a core fundamental knowledge of binary math and network communication at its core level. Do you agree?
Yep. Obviously, as an initial stage, we have to know that model, and then you can also do some certifications as well, right? Because even certifications matter a lot when you are jumping into cybersecurity. A non-IT guy jumping into cybersecurity, like certifications like ECH, ECSA, or Security Plus, and so on. Like most of the people, like when they hear about cybersecurity, think about the red teaming, purple teaming, and blue team. So how do these teams play together?
I would say, well, the thing is, let me tell you how I did it. My red team was a group of individuals I had 3 penetration testers that were very strong individuals that were doing internal network pen testing and also the application penetration testing. The blue team was the IT people were the individuals that I was working with and I made them the blue team.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times what they will do is say, what are we supposed to do when we see that you're meddling in something and you're attacking? And the answer is, you do what you should do. You stop them.
And, for example, let's say there is a person who's like reached you through LinkedIn, right? You want a cybersecurity job. So what are the qualifications that you look into that person, Jason?
It depends what they want to do. If they want to be an architect, if they want to be in internal audit, if they want to be an analyst, if they want to be a penetration tester. Let's take penetration tester. That's actually my favorite. So if they're an application security tester, I would expect that they have development experience in technologies that I'm using, and they should have an ethical hacking certificate, and that would end a great attitude. They need to be very curious, and very attentive, diligent, and they need to be able to dig deep. That's what I need.
That's where you find the solutions. And do you agree that reaching through LinkedIn is a good idea for jobs?
LinkedIn is a good resource. And applying to jobs on LinkedIn is valuable. My advice to people that are applying is to have a text version. A very good text version of their resume can be, you have the text version, which is used for their machine, and then you have the formatted one that looks very nice for their eyes. And so what I expect people to do is when they have to upload a resume, they upload two versions. One of them, the first one's text, and that's going into the automation in order to populate everything for HR. Because understand something is that HR and recruiters, they're very busy. And they want to be able to make one click and get a very good picture of who you are, and they'd rather skip you and go to the next one than have to do some work to find out if you're actually qualified. So you want to make sure that you're able to properly create a text format of a resume so that it goes into the system without fail and you don't have to keep correcting it, and then building one that's visually stunning.
Got it. And I've also got to learn that usually recruiters use only 5 to 7 seconds to see the resume. If your resume is not interesting, it's gone.
Yes, and after speaking to many senior individuals in HR, that's typically what happens. You end up in a situation where the HR professional, they're able to get every piece of data out of your resume in less than 10 seconds. Just by scanning it, they know exactly who you are, and then they make the judgment call whether they're going to call you or not.
True. So I think Spencer has joined the podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Spencer. It's great having you here.
I'm glad to be here.
Okay.
Welcome, Spencer.
So we were talking about cybersecurity certifications. So what do you think about certifications, Spencer? Like as an entry level, what do you think? Which certifications need to be done?
That's a great question. I think getting your CEH is actually overrated. I think the first certification you should be looking to get if you're looking to be in the hacking world is your OSCP, and after that maybe your OSWA. That's a newer one, but that's the Offensive Security Web Application Professional. And then there is I think it's OSNT, the networking side of that. And those are definitely the entry level certifications that you should get.
What are some of the learning platforms that people can use to start their career in cybersecurity?
The one that I worked on when I got started was just Hack the Box. It's a good one, but that's there are plenty of other ones as well nowadays. But honestly, I think the best resource is actually not one of those platforms. If you want to learn how to do the job of a cybersecurity professional, you're going to want to learn the tools that they use, like Burp Suite, OWASP, SQL Map, Metasploit, and these things are not actually taught to you in Hack the Box directly. It's sort of like a tutorial of getting into the machine, not a tutorial of the tools that you're using to get into the machine. So I think you have to use, like, my personal advice is to watch YouTube videos on how to use these tools. Some of them may not be on YouTube because they're a little illegal if you use them incorrectly. Maybe look at the documentation for that, like Metasploit, but I don't I mean, it's sort of a teach yourself sort of feel.
Coming to cybersecurity, like any learning platforms that you want to share to the audience?
ISACA. I'm a current member, and I'm supposed to write an exam and putting it off for a long time. But that's my learning platform.
Got it. And also, like right now, AI is booming, right? Like, how can AI be used in cybersecurity?
Well, that's an interesting question. AI is an intelligent technology. Just as you can train a sheepdog to manage a herd of sheep, you can train an AI to manage tools that you want it to use. I mean, AI has been seen as many things, like cheating tool, therapist, code debugger, you name it, right? But all these things are just the tip of the iceberg of what you can do with AI. Like the majority of the public are only aware of like ChatGPT, Gemini, maybe Sonnet, but that's sort of a less popular one, or at least it was until the new model came out today anyway. But one of the great opportunities is to fine tune publicly available open source models to use the tools that you want them to, which you can't get a ChatGPT model to do. And so it's a huge opportunity in the cybersecurity field to be able to teach something to use something that you have used for the last.
The threat actors, the hackers are using AI to get into the systems.
I would say not like how I would say black hats are using AI right now is they're probably only using ChatGPT to write payloads or something. But that's not the same thing as teaching it to identify things from the tool itself and then act on that, which is something that you can do in the fine-tuning process. And I don't believe many, if at all, are doing that yet because it's barely possible right now as it is. But it is possible. At the company that we're working on, Infiltrate IQ, our model has been fine-tuned.
Any comments on this one, Jason? AI in cybersecurity?
I would typically bring individuals on like Spencer in order to make sense of it. I do recall that we were having a conversation in the past, which led to us and one other person founding InfiltrateIQ.com. We were talking about AI and large language models, and Spencer was in investigating the capabilities of them almost on a hobby basis. And we both sat down and started talking about what it would take to train an AI model, a large language model, to be an actual penetration tester. And then we started talking more about it, and he started prototyping, and soon enough we were able to do that. And so AI is a very dangerous thing, and I'm both terrified and impressed with the capabilities.
And you were mentioning about Infiltrate IQ, right? Can you explain more about like what does Infiltrate IQ does?
Yeah, Infiltrate IQ is a startup company that is all about fully automating the penetration testing process using an AI to operate the entire test itself. So there's no human interaction whatsoever. The entirety of the test is performed by our AI from start to finish, which in turn streamlines the entire penetration testing process, which has never been done before. And currently, we're only doing it for OWASP top 10, like on web applications and websites. However, in the future, we're planning on making additional versions, as I can do more than just attack a website, so I can also train an AI to do that as well.
What data are you using to keep the AI updated itself? Because every week we are getting new vulnerabilities and new hacking strategies.
So we train Vana, that is our AI's name, on the CVE database, documentation for the tools that I would have used. Sometimes I add personal experiences that could have happened into the data set. And also, in future versions of Vana, we are going to have previous iterations of tests and like the results of those tests without containing any personally identifiable information. But let's say like there was something that failed and it tried this, that would be marked down and put into the data set.
Usually the Vana will be giving two documents, right? The technical document and the executive summary.
Yes.
So what does these two documents define?
Great question. In a normal, typical penetration test done by a manual tester, you are required to provide, maybe not required, highly encouraged to provide an executive level report, which is a report that can be given to, as the name suggests, or managers and people who are not as tech savvy. And the purpose of that report is to show the company that they are either secure or not. And it gives them a broad overview of everything that has gone on in the test. Whereas the technical report, also as the name suggests, is a report that has a lot more technical information in it.
Mhm.
It's given to the developers, engineers, anyone who would be dealing with the actual structure of the code itself in
Mhm.
order to resolve any vulnerabilities.
I think product is quite interesting, like doing pen testing on a web application and getting the vulnerabilities, that too within 2 days, 48, whereas usually the process will be taking 1 to 2 weeks. Pretty interesting. Do you think in future, like most of these cybersecurity tools may be, done by AI? What's your view?
My prediction is within a year, like near all good penetration testers will actually be using AI in some manner in order to assist them at doing these tests. Because, I mean, yeah, 2 weeks is generally unacceptable to get your security checked in that nowadays. But also, there is a minimum amount of time that it takes to run a test. So I would say it's difficult to get it below what we even have right now because I mean some tests literally just cannot be shorter than that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to test certain things and they take a full 24 hours to do. Depending on the website, it could take 3 hours, 24 hours, but yeah, to answer your question again, yes, I believe AI will be used for penetration testing and cybersecurity. The one thing it's not used for right now and won't be for quite some time is defensive cybersecurity. And that is because the technology doesn't exist yet. It's we're living on the edge when it comes to being able to use this in cybersecurity, for sure.
Got it. So any comments on this one, Jason?
I
Automation.
believe cybersecurity defensive is going to incorporate AI in the future. I think that AI's role in the defensive orchestration is going to be dynamic, and it's basically going to be it's going to operate like a human. It's going to review the scene. It's going to see a security event happen, and it's going to actively shut them down.
So thanks for those recommendations, Jason and Spencer. So we are in the end of the podcast. And then, like, do you have any suggestions that you want to give to students or professionals who want to enter into cloud or cybersecurity? So anything from you, Jason?
As I've said before, YouTube is your friend. Find something that interests you. There's architecture, there's hardware, there's networking, there's software, there's management of user accounts. Find your passion and then search for it on YouTube. Watch some YouTube videos on it, and then find the appropriate certification. Get it. Build a compelling resume and submit. And I'm not, like, I will tell you that I'm not interested in education. I'm not interested in your work history necessarily. If you can do the job, you can do the job. An individual can be working in the back room of fast food and be the fry guy. It doesn't matter to me. If that individual is able to build orchestration within Amazon AWS and do the job, and he can demonstrate that in an interview, and congratulations, you've got yourself a job.
Thanks, Jason. And anything from your end, Spencer?
If you want to get into cybersecurity, maybe the easiest place to start would be Wi-Fi hacking. That's where I started, actually. Although I would only say do that on your own network, of course. But something that you could have fun with. There's lots of different ways you can build your own automated everything nowadays using ChatGPT, Sonnet, Gemini. Maybe they create something where they can ask ChatGPT to make them a website that is vulnerable, and then they just go with that. and then it's completely allowed. It's local. It's perfect.
Got it.
Building Python scripts in ChatGPT is beautiful.
Yes.
And that's like anyone that wants to get into programming, download PyCharm, okay? Get an IDE, and then get on the ChatGPT and ask it to build something that is specific, that does a task on your local computer, and then run it and start troubleshooting it. That's one of the best ways to start learning.
Got it.
Yeah.
So great sessions, Jason and Spencer. It's great having you on your podcast. So thank you for your time. And this is the end of your podcast. Please do subscribe. And if you have any questions related to Infiltrate IQ or cybersecurity or cloud computing in general, do comment, and see you next time.